Namaste and welcome to Dragonfly Cookery and Knives. In this video we're going to be talking about the new guy on the block. This is a kami who, he had been making kukris probably since he was a kid, and he's now probably in his late 30s, and he is a very knowledgeable, very creative, and very talented kami. He had worked for a number of years for a very renowned and respected kukri house. But he is a young man who had dreams. He had aspirations of having his own kukri house. And he showed himself to be a very talented and very gifted kami in some of the design offerings that he had given to this particular kukri house, his former employer. Now, in the last video that I did, we talked about Simon Hingle and Torah blades. Now, if you remember, Himalayan imports, when they first came to the United States, as I mentioned before, set the standard. They set the bar for the other kamis that would come in to the United States and try to offer their product. Once Himalayan import came in and they were able to introduce their product to the American consumer, now the American consumer had expectations. This is what a good quality handmade kukri from Nepal should be. So anything that came in that was less than that got branded as a tourist or a low quality, substandard quality kukri. So it caused the kamis to have to step it up, to come up to that level, if they could, that Himalayan imports was putting out. Well, Torah Blades has done the same, but they've raised the bar. Now, how Simon did that was he had expectations. He had met Gurkhas, he had seen the tools that they took to war with them, the kukris that they had, and he knew the quality that they were made and carried in the time of war. And they were certainly not the heavy, chunky kukris that he was used to seeing. When he first started off, he found a kami who had a good reputation, so he was expecting a very good product. But when he got that first shipment in, it was not what he expected. So it forced him to have to step it up and to try to find a kami and teach that kami what his expectations were. Not so much teach the kami his craft, but how to make it as good as what was made during the time of World War I and World War II. Well, over the period of time, he's definitely succeeded in doing that and putting out an excellent product. Kukris that any soldier would be happy to carry into war with him. Granted, now most military personnel like smaller and lighter than bigger and heavier, but because they're already carrying a heavy enough kit with all the ammo and gear that they have to carry with them. But in the case of what Simon is putting out, they're very, very good quality kukris that would service anybody in a time of war. They're great reproductions of the original pieces of that time period and that era. So with that being said, it raised the bar. So now the kamis not only had to raise themselves up to where they can make as good a quality as Himalayan imports, now they even have to step it up even further, especially if they're going to do some type of reproduction kukri. Well, there's a lot of kukris that are offered on eBay and Amazon that call themselves a World War II kukri or the Great War kukri, and just because they're big and fat, or a lot of them will resemble exactly like the modern day BSI, but just longer. They're not a true reproduction of a World War II kukri. But if you want to know what a true reproduction World War II kukri looks like, well, the best place to look is Torah blades. Now, this is not a video about Torah blades. This is a video about Barun Baraili and his kukri house of Khotang Khukuri Handicraft. But the reason why I'm talking about this is because this particular kami has come out of the starting gate only barely 2 years in business, and he's already putting out product that is as good as Tora blades. And that's a bold statement. It's a very bold statement. And I'm not saying that it's better than, but I'm saying that a lot of the product that he's putting out right now, you could put it against a Tora blades and it would, weight class, the thickness of the scabbard, and the quality of the blade is going to be just as good. Now, Tora Blades is making historical reproductions. Now, the blades that Barun Baraili are making is not necessarily historical reproductions. He's not trying to do that all the time. Can he do it? Yes, and there are a couple blades that I'm going to show you in this example where he does do it, and he does it very, very well. But the first one that I came across when he first left the employment of this one particular cookery house that he was working at, he made a design, a cookery that they still make to this day. Of course, it's a different commie that's building it, but it's his design. But being the artist, you could take somebody's painting and steal their painting, their idea. Like, here in the United States we have copyright laws that prevent that from happening and all that. But let's just say I paint a painting and somebody copies my painting and then claims it's theirs, and they sign it with their name. And yet they've done an exact copy of mine. Well, they did a great job in copying mine. But I'm the artist. It originated here. It originated here. Now, I can reproduce it. I can do 20 million different versions of it because I'm the creative force behind it. I'm the one who I gave it life. I gave it birth in my creative expression. Well, anybody can imitate another person's product. But if they're a real artist, they can do changes and stuff. And a good example of that would be Andrew. Andrew, who is with Kaladesh Blades, he made the first scourge, and that scourge he did while he did it for a very well known and well respected cookery house. So they were doing the original scourge by Andrew that he had designed. But when he went on his own way, and he and a bunch of other commies put together Kaladesh Blades, guess what's in their product line? The scourge. And they've improved it. They hollow forged it, they made it lighter, they used better materials, they stepped it up and made it better, and then they did variations from it, that design. And each one was an improvement. Now, the unfortunate thing is that scourge has also spilled over into other cookery houses. And those cookery houses, those commies, are reproducing not as good of a product. Yet it has the same design, same look to it, but it's a heavier, chunkier, not a well-refined piece of art as the original is and was that Andrew made. The same thing with Barun Baraili. I'm not saying that this cookery house is making a substandard product now that Barun has left. No. That product, I'm sure, is every bit as good because Barun designed it, and they're building it the same way that Barun designed it. But this is Barun's design. Now, this is a beautiful, beautiful cookery, but it's a traditional cookery with a modern flair to it. It has a creative flair to it. So this is an art piece as well as it is a very functional cookery. When Barun puts a chira, a fuller in a blade, he not only makes it functional, he makes it beautiful. He's making an artistic statement with form follows function. So the form that follows the function on this is chiras are designed to lighten the blade and to change the reverberation that comes back to the hand. That's what it does because he did it deep enough. He made them real chiras. But he did it in such a beautiful and elegant way. I really like this one right here. Very functional. Then he put a finger choil, which makes this very useful in the hand. You're really close to the the center of gravity on this particular kukri. When you're holding, let's see if we can get it to balance. Oh, I don't want to cut the leather, but it's roughly right about here is where the balance point is. And look where the finger choil is. So you're very close to where that balance is. So you're not going to feel like it's wanting to do this to you all the time while you're trying to use it. It's light in the hand. You're able to get in there and do the carving that you need to do, whether it be sharpening a pencil or tent stake. Very functional. Beautiful horn handle. Now on this one, he changed his original design by putting more of a pistol grip type of handle to it. So it has a very pronounced curve. Who else did we see a very pronounced curve on his kukris? But Simon. Some of his early ones had a lot of a curve like a pistol grip. And the reason is to help the ergonomics of the chopping and be very comfortable in the hand and make it very relevant for martial arts activities like a thrust. You're not bending your wrist, breaking your wrist in presenting that thrust with that nice curved handle. It facilitates that. So form follows function in the design is really fantastic. Another thing I like about it is he has kind of the dome style pommel with the keeper. Very beautiful, very traditional. The first kukri that I purchased of his when he opened the doors for Khotang Khukuri Handicraft was one that he put up on Facebook and said, the first guys who come in to buy will give you this discount, as the first kukris produced from our kukri house. And so I was one of them. I was one of the happy many or few, whoever, who actually purchased from him. Now this is a very traditional Sarapoti. It's, you'll find a lot of Sarapotis that will look just like this, being offered on a variety of different places, especially in kukri houses. But what I really like about his is this part right here. We have on his version, he has a very deep groove in this line here. In other words, it is made like it was in the days of the Victorian era, during the time that the master commies of antiquity were doing it. That groove was in there. If anything, it probably serves a function of changing some of the reverberation to the hand, because it's almost a fuller. It's actually deep enough to be a fuller. Now, a lot of the Sarapotis that you see from other kukri houses, they just have a very thin line cut right across there, or maybe a decoration, but not a nice, deeply grooved line right along this spine here that you would find on the kukris of antiquity. So form follows function very well. Then he puts the decorations underneath it. Very beautiful horn handle. Again, the dome style pommel with the keeper. Very beautiful, very elegant. And again, if it ain't broke, why fix it? It's a simple scabbard, but thin and very functional. And watch how easy it is to put this back in. And it doesn't fall out. Neither does the carta or the chakmak fall out. This is very important. A lot of, even of the higher end kukris, you turn them upside down, and these cartas and chakmaks fall out on the ground, which means you're going to lose them out in the field. If they don't stay in the scabbard when you put them in there, then that scabbard has failed in keeping its knife. I have lots of different knives and lots of different styles. All of them have a scabbard on them. What's the scabbard designed to do? Hold your blade so you can carry it in the field. If it doesn't hold your blade, then it's failing in its function. Form follows function doesn't work. In this case, it does. And you're going to see it all the way down the line of all the cookers I'm going to show you today from Barun Baraili. All of them have this type of fit, and they're easy to draw out and put back, and the cartas and chakmas stay where they're supposed to be. Now this card is probably the smallest you're going to see that he does, but it's 100% functional. He has a very nice bevel on it. Obviously he's using a good quality steel, and he's using a very good traditional handle that fits in your palm of your hand real well, to where you can get some nice push cuts and draw cuts with it. for skinning, for chopping your vegetables or whatever. And the chakmak is the same way, very nicely done and a decent size. Now, the other ones you're going to see in some of the other examples I'm going to show you are actually larger and more functional. Now, with Barun's talent and seeing what he's capable of doing, I decided that I would want to run one of my designs past him and see how he would do with it, and how he and I would work together in creating a collaborated kukri design together. And so I went to the drawing board and I took one of my Victorian era kukris and I drew it out, and then I put some elements in it that I wanted to see. And one of those elements was I wanted to be a hollow forged. And so what we did is this particular kukri, and as you can see, it has a very prominent, very nice hollow forge right in the area of the blade where the chopping and the impact is going to be. So that reverberation will be diminished somewhat. It also lightens the blade, makes it very light and nimble, especially if you like using it for martial arts. It's a very functional tool. I love the gentle sweep on it with a very nice 2-inch belly. Now, another thing, here's those deep grooves that he did in the sides up by the spine, which is what the originals had. They were very deeply grooved fullers up at the top of the spine, not a thin little line. This one has my logo on it, as you can see, showing that it is my design. And it's on my website for sale, as many of, well, all of these kukris that you're seeing today are offered on my website. I'll talk a little bit about that, and I hope you don't think that I have some, bad motive or false motive in doing this review, because this review, I am talking about Barun Baraili and Khotang Khukuri Handicraft, not so much my website. So this is, but this was a design that we worked together. Now this was his idea, putting this little sun shape on the keeper part, which I thought was a beautiful addition to the blade. Again, the scabbard is very simple. Form follows function. If it ain't broke, why fix it? He uses very good quality buffalo hide, a very good and thick belt loop. In this particular one, we do have a very useful carta that I love. This is really good size, traditional and beautiful carved handle on it with the rooster's crest on it. But the blade has a nice Scandi grind on it. It's a very useful, good length. You can get in there and you could do some whittling and some skinning with this, no problem. And the same thing with the chakmak, has that beautiful handle with the rooster crest on it. Now this particular one does have a tender pouch, and it's just the pouch. It doesn't have the insert in it. The insert that he did put in it is a piece of leather. Now this piece of leather, if you put some rubbing compound on it, you could actually use it out on the field to stroke your blade a bit and get some of those burrs out if you've resharpened your blade. So it has some form follows function to it. It's very, very nice, but look how thin that is. It's very beautifully done. Very good quality. Is it a true military scabbard? No. It doesn't have the brass buttons, this particular one. But is it 100% functional that a soldier wouldn't mind carrying? Absolutely. It does its job. Now, one of the designs that he does is what I call, I've named this one the Modern Civilian Mk3. That's not this one. This one you guys have already seen. I've showed it with the second video that I did, talking about the first production kukris being made during the time of World War II, and this is the Mk3. This one was actually manufactured in 1945, right at the end of the war. But it's a 100% functional kukri, obviously taken back by the GI and was used throughout his life because he made a custom scabbard for it. So he really loved this piece. Well, Varun doesn't just do a replication of it. What he does is he says, okay, this is the design of an Mk3, but let's make it better. Let's make it something that anybody, not just a soldier, would use. So what he does is he hand makes. Remember, this was made. The original Mk3 was made in a factory. Was with modern equipment, and lots of people trying to pull these out as fast as possible. As a matter of fact, Windlass Steelcraft is still following this pattern to this day and supplying the Gurkhas who are with the different units of the Indian Army. That's their standard kukri they carry. Well, here is a design, a similar design, same elbow shape, same length of blade, very similar Khouti, actually more beautiful. And look at the pattern design with the brass inlay up at the spine that he does. So he dresses it up and makes it look really more fancy, more attractive, especially for somebody who's not thinking of it as a military weapon, but thinking of it as a useful tool that they could carry out in the field. Another thing that I like is that the original Mk3s were actually dull right up at this point here. His is sharp all the way to that point. So you don't lose any cutting area whatsoever. Every bit of this beveled area that's sharpened has good edge on it. Not thick, it's about 1/4 inch, goes all the way down, tapers down towards the tip a bit. And as you can see, it also tapers in the spine in the tank. It's a pen wall design, very beautiful rosewood handle with good grains on it, steel bolster, steel butt plate and keeper. It's very, very comfortable, very light. Be great as a martial arts weapon, but also a very useful tool in the field. You could do all your chopping tasks, build a shelter, everything with this. And watch, it has a very useful, functional scabbard that actually works. Nothing falls out, and it comes with a Kharda and chakmak. And the Kharda, now you're seeing his sizes are getting a little bigger. The blade is getting longer. The handle fills your hand really well. Good bevel on it. Very useful tool for skinning and whittling and doing anything that you need. Plus, it fits in the scabbard, and the scabbard holds it. So it is 100% functional. Same thing with the chakmak. No tender pouch or anything. Very thick piece of leather, and it's nice and stiff, so it's going to stay nice and vertical on your belt. Of course, eventually in time, it's going to get a little worn and become a little bit more loose. But in its current condition, this thing is its form follows function to a T, and with some beauty to it. His own creative influence. See, he doesn't have to overdo stuff to show his own signature of his blade. This is a beautiful example of him just, very simple. And putting his own little touch that's very unique to a very traditional design from the military. Now, another one is actually a new blade that he came out with, and it's called the FSK. Now, the FSK looks like it's going to be real fat and real heavy, right? Well, it is a little fat this way. There's a reason for it. Because this is the blade. Now, remember Himalayan imports, that fish body kukri that I showed you? It had the chiras on it that lighten the blade that were very traditional. Do chira. And it did lighten the blade. It was very functional. It looked like it would be a heavy blade, but it isn't. Well, here's Barun's take on that, sort of. I don't think he was copying Himalayan imports at all. I don't know that he even saw that Himalayan imports before. But this is a very traditional design of a kukri coming from Nepal, and especially from antiquity. But he took this pattern, and then he put his own chira in it. And so the chair is an Ek chair. It's a hollow forge that's right in this area, and it stops right here, all the way down to the tip. And it's very functional. It reminds me of the one that he and I did together. And this is a very light, nimble kukri. And yet, it has you have a 3-inch belly on here. Has a great chopping sweet spot, but with an Ek chair on it. Beautiful design up here, and look at that gorgeous county. Very creative, very beautiful. And very traditional, wood handle, stick tang, steel bolster, steel butt plate and keeper. And it's a 1/4 inch thick. And it doesn't deviate. It isn't like real thick up here, thin, thick, thin. It's consistent all the way through. And this is 100% handmade. And it has a scabbard that fits it perfectly, nice and thin, and holds the blade, holds the karda, holds the chakmak. Look at the karda. With a big blade like this, you want a small blade that you can use for the finer tasks. Well, this is a blade that has a good length of blade, nice bevel on it, which is a Scandi grind, and then you have a very useful handle that fits your hand well, and you can get in there and do whatever task you need with a small blade. So it's a great pattern, and nothing falls out, no rattle. It's a very, very well thought out, good design. Now, I asked Barun what his personal favorite kukri was that he makes, and I'm sure you guys can guess. It is the first one that he did, with one exception. You have the identical blade that the first one that I showed you has. The fullers all in the same place, the finger choil, but now when you get to the handle, it is a panwall design, and it's a little bit straighter. It's not so curved. It still has that nice curve, but this feels like that handshake I was telling you about in the other videos. This is a handshake where you feel like you've got a man's hand and you're shaking it and you're, all right, man, you're my friend. And trust me, this kukri will be your friend. It is an outstanding, beautiful kukri, and I understand why it is his favorite of his designs. Again, if it ain't broke, why fix it? Good sheath, beautiful leather, and this one he's dyed brown like the first one I showed you, but very good quality leather. Good belt loop for your belt, and it's wide enough to where it's going to keep it right where it's supposed to be by your side. And it again comes with a very functional karda and chakmak. Now this one has a karda and chakmak where the other one didn't. But again, Scandi grind, good blade length, and good handle length. You're going to be able to use this. It's a good companion to this wonderful kukri. And again, it doesn't fall out. Very, form follows function. Now, has he done any true military pieces? Yes, he did. This is his Mk2. And I think he did a very good job with it. He didn't go with, the standard, like a lot of the Mk2s that I showed you didn't have this center ring. Does that mean that he messed up there? No. There's actually, I've seen some photos of actual Mk2s that were being produced during the time of World War I, World War II, where they had that center ring very prominent like this one. So he actually is following after a particular one that is very well. Now this is the tightest scabbard that I've encountered with him, and it probably shrunk a bit when it came from Nepal to me. This is the Mk2, and notice he makes a very deep groove here, just as a machine would have put in on it for the original. Original curve, 2-inch belly, 13 inches, and the rounded cowdy that you would see on the Mk2s. The bolster doesn't exactly blend with the steel, but it comes right down. He has made a lip here that goes right into the steel. So it is a very good effort in the reproducing of the bolster there. Full tang. The tang does taper, comes right to a very nice, smooth, round butt plate. They would have the pings showing, where it was the end of the tang was peened over. He has peened it over, but he has smoothed it to where it's nice and smooth. Copper brass button or copper buttons that go all the way through, which is really nice, gives a great accent to it. And this has a very nice, good balance, a very good reproduction of an Mk2, better than most that I've seen out there. This is actually a true Mk2 pattern. And he put it with a scabbard that doesn't have a chalk mark or carta. And then from my examples here that there were some that did have cartas and chalk marks, but a lot of them didn't. So him not including it, he didn't break any rules there. Nice thick scabbard, belt loop I mean, and it does slide off. You have your nice ribbing on it. And what he did was to dress it up. His Sarki did some scoring on the leather that they used. And it does dress it up and make it look very beautiful. But a nice design and very, very good, accurate Mk2. Now, I'm going to show you some of my personal favorites of his. This is one of mine that I think is just absolutely fantastic. I love the bevel of the, it's a high bevel that comes right up here. It's an Eek Chira. There's one Chira fuller right there. Very nice design up here with brass inlays. Look at that cowdy. Beautiful cowdy. Beautiful shape. Very elegant. Very sleek. Very sexy. And then look at the color of that wood. That wood is just beautiful color with the brass rings around it that are decorated, and then beautiful pommel. It's light, fast, beautiful, very comfortable in the hand. Somebody asked me if these brass rings would cause hot spots or hurt the hand at all. You do not even notice that they're there when this is in your hand. There's no way you feel them at all. And that means that it was executed and fashioned perfectly the way it should be. You shouldn't notice it. If it gets in the way or it hurts your hand, there is no function to it. This beautifies this very, very well, but yet it also keeps it very comfortable and useful in the hand. You could use this kukri without any fear of not having a good kukri or having something that's not made well. And again, form follows function. If it ain't broke, why fix it? Excellent scabbard. As you saw it, I was able to take the blade in and out very easily, and yet it doesn't fall out. This is just, I don't know that it gets any better. It doesn't have the card of the chalk mark or a tender pouch, but as a very relevant, beautiful kukri that's functional, gorgeous, yeah, it's hard to beat that. Another one that I really love and like a lot is this one, and this one I think is called the V Parshuram Ankola, and it is, look at the scabbard, it's beautiful, and I love what he did with the shape here, just really very nicely decorated with the star in it. Very solid piece of leather for the belt, but yet keeps it very simple. No carta, no chalk mark, and look at this beautiful kukri. What I really like about the chiras on this, he has a chira right that starts here, comes down and blends right into the chira that falls underneath it. It comes all the way back here. Then he has another chira that starts at the cutting bevel here and comes up to the front. And it's elegant, it's beautiful, and functional. Very light, fast blade. This is an excellent martial arts tool. Now, It has the brass rings, very beautifully decorated. I love the star. This is an outstanding, beautiful art and functional piece. Now, I could go on more with Barun Baraili's kukris, and there's others that I'm not showing that I could show. But I don't want this to be too long of a video. Now, I am a dealer of Barun's product, so you will find his product on my website. And but this review is not for me just to sell kukri off of my website. I am trying to give a good representation of a very talented kami known as Barun Baraili and his team at Khotang Khukuri Handicraft. Danny Murray Lake, our mutual friend, has helped him build his website. He does have a website up, so look for khotangkhukurihandicraft.com. And you could also find his products on my website at dragonflykukriandknives.com. Please like and subscribe on my video. If you have any questions, comments, or you want to find some of his products and get more of the details, I have done numerous reviews on these and have all the details on my Facebook page at Blue Dragonfly Trading Post. Also, visit my website at dragonflykukriandknives.com. Namaste, thank you very much, and God bless.